Today I'm going to make some pork cracklins, known by probably a bunch of different names. I think I might call mine pork attacks. So I'm just getting some of the stuff ready here. Got some good quality pork belly. And really don't need a lot of ingredients. So I'll just start to get this stuff prepped here. Since I haven't made these before, I'm only going to take one side of my pork belly, and that'll be today's sacrifice, and the other one can go in the freezer. I can make another attempt. I always like to keep sharp knives. This particularly sharp knife is going to be for scoring the rind. If there's a small amount of fat or poorly trimmed areas on the non-rind side, you can trim those up a little bit if you like. Trim the end off square. Usually if you go to a good butcher, it's going to come trimmed quite well from the time you pick it up. So I've chosen to make a bit of a crisscross or a crosshatch scores in the surface of the rind. I'm not sure if you can see that, in two directions, this way and this way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some good coarse salt and just smear this really well, or rub it really good and try and get some of the salt in there, and then give it a bit of a rub down with a small amount of olive oil. And the salt is rubbed in, so now I'm just going to add a bit of olive oil on here. That's what I'm using right now. And just rub this in as well. Doesn't really take much. So the next thing to do is to cube this up into pieces maybe 1 inch by 1 inch approximately. And I'm not much of a cameraman, so there's a lot of stop and go action here. So I'll just turn this back on once I get it cubed up. You will need quite a sharp, fairly large kitchen knife for this. Pork belly is pretty tough stuff to slice through. Now here's the pork belly all diced up. There's probably some on some ends that are just mainly fat. That's okay, you can put them in, and because we're going to render a lot of this fat out when we fry it at first, and then use some of that rendered fat when we finish cooking them at the end. You can just take them out later. I'm just going to start heating up my pot right now. The first part of the cooking is going to be on low heat, and before waiting any longer, make sure that you get yourself some kind of beverage, so you don't want to become dehydrated during this process. As soon as this heats up a little bit to low to medium heat, then I'll add them in and then start to brown, and first of all start to render out some of the fat. I've got all of the pork belly cubes into the pot. I like to use seasoned cast iron pot. And just heat it up a little bit so that when you first put the stuff in, it doesn't start to stick to the bottom. And then I'll move these around a little bit to try and allow them to cook evenly and sort of start to get cooked on all sides of each piece. Now I want to get these more covered in oil and in render so that they're sort of cooking more evenly. So I've got some leftover oil that I was cooking with yesterday. I'm going to just add it in here. There. Let that heat up. See if I can get rid of this other pan without starting a fire here. Okay, so I'll just turn it up just to bring that newly added oil up to temperature a little bit. Guess if I would have been thinking ahead, I could have had that other oil heated up a bit before I put it in here. And so we're just going to want to continue cooking these on like a medium low. So now most of the cubes are kind of submerged and cooking a lot more evenly. Just continue to let it cook slowly. It takes a while for everything to render down. You want them to just slowly keep getting browner and crispier. And then after once they look like they are good and crispy, then we'll take them out and then heat up the oil good and hot and then put them in to finish them. I think these are starting to look pretty awesome. Browned up nicely. Probably added a little more oil than I needed because as they rendered down they supplied a lot of their own cooking oil. So I'm going to turn this down now and then remove these into a pan on the side, let them cool while they're cooling down. Then I'm going to clean this oil, strain it, and then heat it up really hot, 400 degrees or so, and then kind of just put them in for one short blast of heat. And what's supposed to happen is they're then supposed to expand and get larger and finish off the crispiness on the rind. I strained out the oil and cleaned this pot. And a couple of the recipes that I looked at called for that, so that when you do the finishing fry, you're supposed to be using clean oil. So these guys should be cooling off now, and by the time I get the oil back in here and heat it up to the 400 degrees, should be ready to put them in and finish them off. So there we got the tried out one in the reheated oil. I don't know if you can tell, it's just like starting to kind of blister on the surface of the rind. and that's what you want. And that should be done. So we'll start putting the rest in. They don't all have to go in at once. You want them all to get kind of evenly submerged. You can see that it's smoking hot now. I could probably turn the heat down just a little bit. And they look like they're finishing just like they're supposed to. So there we go. The pork belly cubes are all done. You can add whatever, a little bit of salt, some pepper if you like, or whatever seasoning. I like to use just a bit of coarse black pepper. And I'm looking forward to giving one of these a try. They look just delicious. As the barbecue pit boys would say, all you Vegematics might want to look away now. Fantastic.